Before I get to the all-important business of randomly bludgeoning innocent people to death with a billy club, I'd like to briefly address a few common misconceptions among you vast legions of undertoads. Now I can do this because, quite frankly, I run this bitch, and by the way, Saints Row 2 also has an ideal character creator with which I can properly illustrate. So let's start with my age. I've read guesses ranging everywhere from teenager to fetus, but in fact, I am not at all prepubescent. In fact, I'm quite post-pubescent. In fact, I'm a 26-year-old college graduate with degrees in journalism, political science, and breaking out of prison. I'll get to that in a second, but lastly, I'm also aware I have a somewhat effeminate voice, and given my age, I realize that it's somewhat unusual. In fact, the closest I could come to matching it in Saints Row 2 was one of the female voices, and the game wouldn't even let me use it.
¿Qué puedo hacer? I'll keep an eye out for trouble.
I don't kill out of hatred, I kill—
We locking this city down.
What I wouldn't do for—
Which brings me to my first criticism of Saints Row 2. This game is voicist. That is to say, it discriminates and offensively stereotypes based on the tone of one's voice. I thought we moved past this as a society.
Listen, we gotta get you out of here. Well, I'm sure if we ask nicely. I know we—
For most of you deep-voiced beacons of masculinity, the game's rampant voicism won't be a problem. What may offend you, on the other hand, are the game's clunky mechanics, technical shortcomings, and bland appearance. There are a lot of things holding back Saints Row 2, and yet at the same time, the game manages to break those shackles all the same. If you like Grand Theft Auto, you'll love Saints Row 2. There's no avoiding that THQ's Saints Row 2 is essentially just a more over-the-top version of Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto. The game is built around the idea of running around the metropolis of Stillwater while killing, looting, and pillaging. As you'd expect, there are missions and a story to lend structure to this open-world chaos, but Saints Row 2 sets itself apart with its outrageous tone. For example, one mission has you, a known and escaped convict, play the role of a policeman in a reality TV show. A camera crew follows you around Stillwater and encourages you to give them some good footage, which basically amounts to beating the living hell out of whomever you're asked to while wearing a cop's uniform. So much for keeping a low profile. Now, plenty of standard assassination missions are abound as well, but Saints Row 2 does a very good job of keeping them as diverse and over-the-top as possible. It may be like Grand Theft Auto, but it's a much more comical version, and that's a huge plus. Unfortunately, there are other areas in which it also deviates from Rockstar's game, and they're not all positives. The graphics are as technically flawed as they are aesthetically unpleasing. This is not a very pretty game, and that lack of polish is noticeable across most aspects of Saints Row 2. And yet, despite its best efforts, the game still manages to be fun. The tone of the campaign mode offers a refreshing twist on open-world norms, and the multiplayer options, both online and via System Link, amplify both the game's fun and its absurdity. Saints Row 2 is a lot like the generic action films that Hollywood churns out on a regular basis. You know, it's not exactly award-winning material, but it's still fun. And although the game's flaws prevent it from matching Grand Theft Auto, it at least puts GTA on notice. There's another gang in town, and this one's packing sledgehammers.
The best episode of the season, right?
I will be invincible.
You really have your job, don't you?